they nullify the tuition fees, so tuition fees are covered. So for living expenses, they pay, at that point of time, they paid me 22,000 Swiss francs per annum.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where we have a very special guest with us whose name is Sanyat, who's an international student from India who received a full scholarship to study at one of the best universities in the world in Switzerland called ETH Zurich. In this video, he talks about the admissions process that he went through to apply to different universities in Europe, and then he also talks about his experience studying in Switzerland. So before moving on to the actual video, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos about studying abroad and scholarships in the future. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have with us a very special guest whose name is Sanyat. So Sanyat has a very interesting path. He did his undergraduate in India and then he's done his master's in Switzerland, and currently he's working in Denmark and right now in India on holiday. So Sanyat, do you want to introduce yourself to begin?
Yes, so thanks Akshay for the introduction, and hi everyone. I'm Sanyat. I am from Mumbai and I am currently working in Denmark. And like Akshay said, I did my undergraduation in UDCT or ICT Mumbai. I studied pharmaceutical sciences and engineering, and then I went to ETH Zurich, which is one of the top 10 universities in the world, and I studied pharmaceutical sciences and business management over there. And now I'm working in Novo Nordisk in Denmark. So one of the largest pharmaceutical companies producing a lot of diabetics products. One thing which my company did is they are the inventors of insulin. So that is something which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's a very big drug. Which all universities did you apply to and why did you choose to go to Switzerland?
Yes, so that's a good question. I started looking at programs which are basically not research oriented, but like engineering management kind of programs, which are hybrid programs, which will not only allow me to enter into pharmaceutical industry, but go into the business side of pharmaceutical industry. And for obvious reasons, I at that point also I was not looking forward to apply to US. There was a lot of uncertainty in US, so I was pretty clear that I won't apply to US. Second thing was, not many US universities offer full scholarships. So I thought my profile was good enough that I can get full scholarship. So what I thought was, there were these 5 universities in Europe, below 50 ranks, so top 25 ranks, sorry. And I wanted to apply to those universities, and those programs were really good. So I applied to ETH Zurich in Switzerland. Then there is EPFL in Switzerland. Then I applied to Karolinska Institute, so which is one of the which awards Nobel Prize in Medicine every year in Sweden. Then I applied to Leiden University in Netherlands. So these were the 4 universities which I applied. There was another university, I think I applied to Utrecht. I don't remember, yeah. But somewhere of that sort in Netherlands itself. And all these 5 universities offer full scholarship to 1 or 2 students every year from the department, from all over the world. So the chances were very high that these universities are not only good in rankings, they provide excellent education, but they are not just providing me full scholarship to kind of study, but also cover my living expenses. So that was something which I thought is a very good kind of an opportunity. Everyone likes, of course, wants scholarships so that our education is cheaper, and that was the main motive to apply to these 5 universities.
So you said the scholarship. So if like you obviously got a full scholarship at ETH Zurich, and how much, if you had to quantify that, how much would that be over 2 years? Like,
yes, so it's mentioned on their website also. It is known as ESOP Scholarship. So Excellence Scholarship and Opportunity Award. So it's a merit-based scholarship. The basic criteria, screening criteria is you should be top 1% of your class. If you are not that, then they don't even call you for interview. So that's the first thing. And then if you ask me the quantification of it, they exclude tuition fees. So they nullify the tuition fees. So tuition fees are covered. So for living expenses, they pay, At that point of time, they paid me 22,000 Swiss francs per annum.
Per annum. Wow.
So it's 44,000 Swiss francs per annum. Yes, just for living expenses.
Wow, that's amazing. And what was the application process that you went through? Like, did you have to take any exams like GRE, or like what exactly did you have to do?
Yes. So I gave GRE exam, also TOEFL, but it is not a requirement. Maybe I will urge people to look at the ETH's website, but I don't think GRE is a requirement. But I still gave it because it gives, if you have a good score, it gives you a competitive edge. So that was the whole point of giving GRE. And TOEFL I gave because I think TOEFL is mandatory. So I gave these two exams.
And did you have to write essay or state like SOP, statement of purpose, or anything?
Yes, yes. So one thing about European universities is which is a bit different from US based universities is they are very academically driven. So they are more like India, I will say. They like good grades, they like research experience, they like they focus more on that. Also, of course, they focus more on your extracurriculars also, but they are really academically driven. So if you are in top 1% of your class, they will really like you. So that is what my understanding is, because especially if you do the master's program also, it's very academic. So very rigorous, very tough application process. So these two tests which I mentioned, then you have to there is a statement of purpose, resume, etc., which is a standard application for everything. But what they also look for is detailed course overview. So you have to provide your transcripts, but you also have to mention. For my program, it was essential that I prove that I have a engineering background, and I wanted to specialize into pharmaceutical business, right? So I have to prove that I have a pharmaceutical
Right.
background. So with the courses, required courses in biology and chemistry. So that was a pretty straightforward process, I will say.
That's good. And was it like similar processes for the other universities in Europe that you applied to?
Yeah, mainly same process. One thing I forgot to mention, which was scholarship application is usually separate from your university application. So for scholarship application, basically for ETH, they ask a separate motivation letter, and also they ask master's thesis proposal. So this is something new, wherein they ask to pitch your idea for the master's thesis which you will be doing. And the main aim of that thesis proposal is to test how innovative is your idea, whether it's feasible to do in 6 months, and whether the student can actually think out of the box. So that's the whole purpose. So they evaluate strongly based on your screening questions, so class rank, etc., But master's thesis proposal also is very important in fact if you want to get a scholarship.
So master's thesis basically the topic that you'd be doing research on for the duration of your master's, right? Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
and it's not necessary that you pursue that itself. It's just a way for them to evaluate whether the student can think innovatively, whether the idea is practical, whether it is feasible in a given time period, and fourth thing, which is whether there is a kind of a strong hypothesis. So basically, whenever you give a research proposal, you should have a strong hypothesis. And to back that hypothesis, you need some very good references. So anyone can pitch an idea. Like, say, for example, I want to develop a rocket to go to Mars, but that's not like I cannot do it in 6 months,
Yeah.
right? So it must be a feasible idea wherein you can really create an impact in 6 months. So I actually use one of my papers which was already published to say that I will take this idea forward in terms of starting my own startup, and how I will do it. I explained it in my research proposal, and they liked it because there was a proof of concept which was already published, so which was acknowledged by scientific community. And now I'm going to use ETH's management, strategy, business kind of courses to understand and leverage those skill sets to take it into next level, which is the startup level. So that was one of the main things which they liked, that I'm taking a good idea which has a solid base and taking it forward using ETH's lessons and teachings. So that was one thing which helped me actually.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because this is all like built upon your like undergraduate, like you did internships and research, and now and later on that like helped you a lot and gave you so much more perspective and knowledge basically. So,
Yes.
when you went to Switzerland, like, was there any different, like, culture shock that you had, and any differences between life in India and Switzerland?
Yeah. So quite lot of cultural shocks, I will say. So I started learning language actually. So after my bachelor's was done, I just thought, why not just start understanding a bit of German. In Switzerland, they speak Swiss German, which is a dialect as compared to standard German, as we all know. But I started learning normal German, which is written German, which is used as a written language in Switzerland as well. Uh, and when I went to Switzerland, actually coming from Mumbai, it's super quiet. So it was dead quiet, and that was one of the first cultural shocks I had, which was no people are around. Saturday, Sunday, grocery stores are closed, so you need to buy your all your groceries on the weekdays itself. So there were a lot of kind of different culture in Switzerland, which was something I had to get used to. And I arrived in Switzerland 2 weeks before the start date of my university. So that is the time usually when students take holidays. So people who are already studying in Switzerland, they take holidays just 2 weeks before the start, and that is the reason why my flatmates were also off on holidays. So it was dead quiet, and it was scary initially because the nights are
Long.
longer, days are shorter, especially in the winter season. And that was the first thing which was kind of, I was like, where I have come. But then once you start getting used to it, people don't speak English a lot, especially in grocery stores or while looking in for directions, etc., etc. But once you get used to it, it's pretty straightforward, I will say. But official language in ETH and university is English. So that is one thing which is quite different from what I heard from US friends, which is language is never a barrier, right? And culture shock, as in we all know about US culture, it's quite familiar, I will say, even
Yeah.
sitting in India. But Swiss culture is quite different. They are reserved people. They don't make friends easily. And a lot of my friends, so I lived with seven flatmates, and out of which five were Swiss, one was Canadian, one was Korean, and it was a very international atmosphere, and I was learning language, understanding different people. So it was fascinating to kind of meet new people, understand how their cultures work, and also get to eat a lot of nice Swiss food.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I mean, yeah, in the US it's a lot different because there's already a lot of Indian people here. So yeah, and
Yes,
so basically the language in ETH is English. So the everything, all of the teaching was in English. So you didn't really need to know
yes.
German before coming in, but it is beneficial if you do.
Yeah, it is beneficial if you want to make friendships. Also, kind of navigating your way through, say, grocery stores or asking people for directions, for example, it's very good because people will most likely reply back in German.
Yeah.
So it's good if you can speak German because then that creates a good acceptability. Even if you are not fluent in it, people can understand and you can find your way through. So I think speaking German is super helpful in Switzerland.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about like internships and jobs and both your personal experience and like maybe some of uh, your batchmates and like how easy it is to get a job and about how much they pay.
Yes, sure. So that is the first thing everyone tries to do after coming to masters, right? So kind of exploring jobs, and I will come to full-time jobs a bit later. But let me start with normal TA and RA. So there is, I know a lot of viewers will also kind of will be interested in understanding what are TA and RA jobs present. If you don't get a scholarship, what kind of opportunities you have to kind of earn a bit and sponsor your education. So first 6 months you cannot work anywhere in Switzerland once because you are an international student. So first 6 months they actually encourage you to just get to know the culture, get to know Switzerland, understand things, which is actually good. So because you need to kind of start understanding how Swiss culture works before directly jumping into the job market. So that is one thing. Once after the 6 months period, it's very easy to get a job as an RA or TA in a lab or with a professor as a teaching assistant, and they pay you really well. So average salary is 30 Swiss francs per hour, which is, I will say, around $32, maybe
Wow.
31 $32,
Yeah.
which is quite high as compared to US, and it's really nice salary. So if you get a TARA, don't worry about scholarships because they will kind of fund a lot of your education. Even I got a TA during my summer holidays. I had a 2 month holiday, so I could work 40 hours per week during summer, and during semester I could work 20 hours per week. So that is about TA and RA ships.
So that you get
Uh,
before you come or after you, like, do you
no,
apply before?
after
You
after
apply
after
when you
6 months.
come.
So I
Yeah.
applied. So I came in September, in
Yeah.
fall, and I started applying in November, December, and then I got, after my 6 months ended in around March, I got it from April.
For the
But I
summer.
took only when the semester ended because ETH. I will talk a bit about how ETH functions as a university in terms of academics, but it's very rigorous, so it's not feasible. It was not feasible for me to actually do a TA shape while studying courses.
Hmm.
So I chose not to do it during semester and only do it during holidays.
Hmm.
Yeah. The main problem with Europe, considering its considering language barriers, is the job market because it's not easy to get a job in Europe. There are a lot of language issues. There is a lot of uh, visa restrictions, and compared to US, which was 5 years back, let's compare with the Obama period. So 5 years back,
Yeah.
how US was in general, and and that point of time it was very easy because US is such a huge country, right, to find opportunities for people. That is not the case with small countries like Switzerland, Denmark, even take Italy, France, Germany, etc. These countries, so Switzerland's population is half, I will say around half or just above half of Mumbai's population. So imagine how many
In
industries
Mumbai. Yeah.
are present in Switzerland. Your Denmark's population is one third of Mumbai's population. So the amount of industries, amount of opportunities you will have are very limited. So there are language barriers. If you are doing a client-facing job, you need to know Swiss German fluently. If you want to work in Switzerland, which is tough. It's not easy to learn a language, and you cannot master it in 2 or 3 years. People can do it, of course, but it's very difficult while managing your academics and learning a language. That is second thing, which is language barrier. Third thing is limited number of visas which are available. So the work permit visas are quite limited in Switzerland. I don't know the official figure, but maybe around 3,000 or 4,000 per year per canton. So there are cantons are like states, you can say.
Hmm.
So there are far less visas which are available. 3,000 is nothing, right? And so that is the reason why there is a fierce competition, and 3,000 visas are for everyone apart from Swiss nationals. So imagine you are competing with Eastern Europeans, sorry, not Europeans, with everyone outside Europe. So people coming from US, Canada, anyone, South America, India, Asia, anywhere, and so that amount is very less. So it's very difficult to get a job in your relevant field in Switzerland, or for that matter, in Germany you need German, in France you need French, Italy you need Italian. So quite difficult to find a relevant client-facing job, especially if you're doing a management. If you're in a management course, then most likely your job is client-facing, right? Marketing, sales, business consulting, etc. And I was looking for management consulting, which is out and out client facing job. So it was very difficult to kind of directly get into job market. That's one key takeaway for students who are looking I had come into Europe.
Hmm.
Second thing, which is it's much easier, a bit easier to get jobs in R&D because it's backdoor. You don't need to talk to people. You are focused on your work. So a lot of people do PhDs after their master's program because that's the easy way to enter R&D. Unlike USA, wherein even master's people can enter easily into a pharmaceutical industry's R&D department. It's not that easy in Europe. People really want PhDs, postdoctorates to enter R&D. So that's a longer route which people take if you want to go into the R&D side of things. So coming to internships, one good thing about internships in Switzerland is if you need to first look if your program has a mandatory internship element. If your program has it, the master's program, then it's very easy to get a job, visa. And then once you find the job, it's very easy to get that visa because your university encourages you to do the internship. If you don't have internship as a compulsory part of your program, then it's tough because visa authorities don't give internships to everyone. So that is one aspect which is tough about internships. The best thing to get into job market in Europe is doing internship, doing a fabulous work at an internship, and getting an offer before you directly enter the job market by just going into the company and working full time in the industry which you did your internship. Because people generally tend to think it this way. Why not take a Swiss citizen or a European citizen whom the company doesn't have to pay for visa rather than taking someone else with almost same competency or less competency for an extra money which they have to pay for visa, right? So that's one thing which people tend to forget is we don't have very good experience. Of course, we are early. We are early to job market. This is our first job for most of the immigrants. So we don't have experience. So there is nothing which makes us stand out other than our academic achievements. So if you have a very glorious profile, then it's easy to get a job. Otherwise, it can become a bit tough.
Did your program have like a required internship?
Yes. Yeah. So it was quite, I won't say easy, but very easy to get a visa for me.
So you did one internships or two, and where?
So what I did was I knew that I wanted to go into management consulting, but what I didn't know was whether I should go for external consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, or whether I should go for pharmaceutical in-house consulting. And I knew that pharmaceutical industry or pharma really kind of that is something where I want to be in the long term. So I decided to apply for in-house management consulting departments of big pharmaceutical companies. One good thing about Europe is it's a hub for pharma and FMCG, and Switzerland has Novartis, Roche, which are top two pharma companies. If people are interested in FMCG, you have Nestle in Switzerland. So also in Europe, you have a lot of big pharma companies, right? So there are very good opportunities. So I started applying to different pharmaceutical companies. I applied to Novartis, Roche, Bayer in Germany, Sanofi in France, and Novo Nordisk, which is my current employer in Denmark, for all their in-house management consulting firms. And it was pretty straightforward kind of process. I applied to their website. I also knew a few people which I met during the networking events at ETH. So took their details, gave their references, applied on the website. I had the interview and I got in for the internship at Bayer and BASF in Germany, also Roche and then Novo Nordisk. And I really liked Novo Nordisk department. So that was it. And then I came and did this internship.
So that's actually interesting. So you went to the career fairs and then you saw the job posting on the website, I'm assuming, and then
Yes.
you used like the people that you spoke to, you used them as a reference on the application, I think that I haven't done that before. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, because I think networking again is very key in Europe, and if you can provide reference, because there are a lot of companies which come to university. So if you talk to their representatives and if they can refer you for the job position, one thing which I learned is a lot of jobs are posted internally rather than externally. So if you get a very good reference, they can refer you to an internal job posting, and that makes your job way easier to
Easier.
crack and get an interview. And getting to an interview is the toughest job, because then it's only on your skills. But getting an interview is on luck, also how you network with people. Do you find the right opportunity or not? So I think to take out that luck factor, I think talking to a lot of people is very important.
Yeah. And so this job was in Denmark. So you needed a Swiss visa, or did you need a Denmark visa for, or is it the same?
Yes, a good question. So, I since this internship was a mandatory part of my curriculum, I could get a Danish work permit to work there for 6 months for my internship. And even though I had a Swiss visa, I had to apply for this work permit at Denmark.
And so, but you could apply to any of the countries around Switzerland, like Germany and like uh
Yes,
any of. Okay. Yeah.
yes, that's one good thing about Europe, which is if you have a good job offer, it is the company's job to apply for your work permit. So you don't have to do anything. So and getting a visa is not that difficult if you have a job offer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's very different from some other countries. Yeah. So like in the US, we have the OPT, CPT. I don't know if you know, where like after your student visa, you can work for a certain number of years,
Hmm.
and without needing a work sponsorship. So is that a concept in Switzerland, or is that not? Is that just based on whether you find a job or not?
Yes. So one thing which makes life a bit difficult in Switzerland, if you don't have a job. So for me, it was easy because I already had a job before my graduation, right? But for most of the people, what happens is you get for all of us, you get 6 months of job search period after your master's program. So you just have 6 months duration. So that's not a long time to kind of search for jobs. If you don't find a job in 6 months, you basically have to go back to your original country. So that's a bit strict, I will say, and which makes finding jobs a bit difficult in Switzerland, given the conditions also. In Denmark, what I learned from my friends is if you studied in Denmark, did your master's program in Denmark, you have 2 years of what they call establishment card or your OPT, and you can work 2 years without worrying for visa. So the company doesn't need to apply for a visa. You can directly work for the company or any part-time job, etc., etc. And one more thing here is I don't know about US exactly, but in Switzerland or especially Denmark, visas are associated with the salary limit, which is quite high. So you need to get a pay limit scheme. So it's called as pay limit scheme. So your pay should be above a threshold per annum to get that visa
Visa
sponsorship from
sponsorship. Yeah.
the company. So which is quite high. So this establishment card helps kind of to get that initial experience, and then you can go to this higher wage limit scheme.
That's good, and I mean, I think that's very like that system in Denmark is pretty similar to US, where for between 1 to, based on your degree, between 1 to 3 years you can work with the student visa, and then after that there's the H1B with certain salary uh, thresholds that you need. And
Yes,
but so you said that you can work part-time jobs, have internships, and these different things while your degree. So even like if you don't get a job after your degree, you can still like save up a little bit of money and then go back to whichever country you came from, or
yeah.
yeah.
So that can always happen. So especially if you're asking me about Switzerland, that opportunity is bit limited because you just have 6 months after your graduation.
Yeah.
In Denmark, you have 2 years, so that's a bit
Hmm.
more time. I don't know about Germany and France, but if you get good RATA or internship during your master's program, I can pretty assure you that you can save a good amount of money after covering your expenses.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you're still like young, but any advice for like the younger viewers like me and like other students watching? Yeah.
Yes. One thing which I learned during this journey is I will say the most important thing is explore. When we are young, it's we must have curiosity to kind of do different things and understand what we like and what we don't like. And making a choice about what we don't like is very easy because once we experience that thing, we can easily say whether we have liked it or not, rather than dreaming and thinking what I like, which is a difficult part to trade on. So one thing is try different things, do courses on Coursera, edX, do internships, talk to people. Second thing is networking is very key, especially if you want to get a job. Do network, talk to people, send blank cold messages, approach random people during events. Always have a resume ready in your hand during conferences, during events. Reach out to 10, 100 different if even one or two or three kind of are willing to refer you, they are doing your job is done, right? So networking is very key. And the third thing is try doing different things than just studying. This is my honest opinion is books are not going to take you that far. Theoretical knowledge, we all know getting academic grades is fantastic, but what will stand you out, especially if you're not in R&D, is what you do beyond academics. So, student associations, internships, do competitions. So I participate also in a lot of ideation competitions in India of different colleges, in their festivals. Do a lot of extracurricular, co-curricular sports, etc. And that will help you to build your overall profile than just focusing only on acads. Because that will also help you to kind of understand and grow your soft skills. Focus much upon practical experience, do a lot of things, and I think you will be set up for success.
That's great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this. And this was great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thanks, Akshay. Thanks for inviting me. It was fun talking to you. And if there are any questions, do let me know.
Yeah, definitely.